You ever leave a doctor's office, prescription in hand, and think to yourself, wait, did I really need this? Well, you're not alone. And that feeling points to this huge kind of hidden issue in healthcare. So today, we're going to tackle a big question. Could artificial intelligence be the key to solving our problem with getting too much medicine? Let's get into it.
I know. It sounds a little crazy, right? I mean, more care should be better care. But what the data is showing us is that in a lot of cases, we might actually be getting too much of a good thing. And look, this isn't about skipping treatments you need. It's about all the tests and procedures we get that we just don't need at all.
There's actually an official term for this: medical overtreatment. Think about getting a powerful antibiotic for a common cold, which, by the way, is a virus, so the antibiotic does nothing. Or getting a full CT scan for a simple headache. These things aren't just a waste of money. They can actually expose us to risks and side effects we never needed to face.
And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. A major study in The Lancet found that a jaw-dropping 29% of all healthcare spending in the US is wasted on this stuff: overtreatment and other low-value care. That's almost a third of the entire healthcare system. So obviously, the big question is, what on earth can we do about it?
Well, this brings us to a really fascinating experiment published in the Journal of Health Economix. Researchers wanted to know if AI could help doctors avoid falling into this overtreatment trap. And to find out, they did something pretty clever. They built a virtual clinic to test real practicing doctors in a totally controlled setting.
So here's the breakdown of how it worked. First, they got 196 physicians to treat virtual patients, making choices just like they would every day. Second, and this part is absolutely crucial, the doctors were paid for their work under 3 very different systems. And finally, for the big test, half the doctors got a little help from an AI assistant, while the other half were on their own. Okay, so let's dig into these payment models, because this is where it gets really interesting. The flat system is pretty simple. It's like being a salaried employee. You get paid the same no matter what you do. The progressive model, that's like working on commission. The more treatments you order, the more money you make. And then there's the regressive model, which is all about quality. You get a bonus for getting it right, but a penalty for getting it wrong. You can already see how these different incentives could totally change a doctor's decisions, right? So, the stage is set. We've got our doctors, our virtual patients, these 3 different payment schemes, and an AI just waiting to jump in. So, what did the experiment actually reveal about overtreatment? All right, first, let's look at the control group, the doctors who had no AI help. And wow, the power of incentives just jumps right off the page. In that commission-based, progressive model, the overtreatment rate was a sky-high 74%. But look at the flat and regressive models. The rates are less than half that. Money clearly talks. But now for the big question. What happens when you add AI to the equation?
With AI assistance, the whole picture changes. And it changes dramatically. Now, the commission-based group, they saw a drop, but it was pretty modest. But look at the other two. The regressive quality-based group cut their overtreatment rate by nearly 40%. And the flat salaried group, their rate absolutely plummeted from 32% all the way down to just over 6%.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. For doctors who didn't have a direct financial incentive to do more, just adding an AI partner cut unnecessary treatments by over 80%. That is a massive, massive effect. It suggests that when you take that financial pressure off the table, AI can be an incredibly powerful tool for making better, more efficient decisions.
But this brings up a really important question. Why was AI so incredibly effective in some situations, but not so much in others? Why did the money still seem to matter so much? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the different reasons why doctors overtreat in the first place.
So in a follow-up study, researchers actually asked the doctors what was motivating them. And it turns out the single biggest driver, at over a third of the responses, was what they called insufficient ability. Things like being uncertain about a diagnosis or just not feeling confident. But right behind that, monetary incentives, followed by genuine concerns for the patient's welfare, and of course, practicing defensive medicine.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. At its core, AI is a knowledge tool. It is fantastic at fixing problems related to uncertainty and a lack of confidence. It gives a doctor a reliable, data-backed second opinion, like instantly. But what can't it fix? A payment system that directly rewards a doctor for providing more care whether it's actually needed or not. AI gives you information, It doesn't give you willpower against a powerful financial motive.
And the numbers here just tell such a striking story. Before AI, overtreatment was driven by this mix of things, about 40% non-monetary, 60% monetary. But look what happens when you introduce AI. The AI basically solves most of the knowledge-based, non-monetary problems. Their share of the blame drops all the way to 19%. And because of that, the remaining problem, that financial incentive, suddenly looms even larger, now accounting for over 80% of the reason for overtreatment.
So, what does all this really mean for the future of medicine? Well, the study makes it crystal clear that AI is an incredible tool, but it's not some magic cure for a broken system. Its real power is only unlocked when we combine it with the right environment and the right incentives.
Because here's the other side of the coin that's so important. It wasn't just about reducing bad care. The AI also improved the good care. Across every single group, no matter the payment model, AI assistance boosted treatment accuracy by a really significant amount, somewhere between 15 and 20%. So doctors weren't just doing less, they were doing better.
And that leads to what might be the single most important finding in this whole study. On their own, the doctors had an accuracy rate of about 69%. The AI, working by itself, was about 74% accurate. But when you put them together, accuracy jumped to over 80%. It's that perfect 1 + 1 = 3 synergy. The combination of human expertise and AI analysis is just flat out better than either one on its own.
So, when we put this all together, what are the big takeaways? Well, first, AI is an incredible partner for doctors. It helps slash uncertainty and reduce errors. It can even act as a sort of knowledge equalizer, helping doctors out when they face really unfamiliar cases. But we've also seen its limits. Real, lasting change isn't going to come from just smarter tools or just smarter payment systems. We need both working together.
Which leaves us with one final big idea to think about. We often think about technology replacing people, but this research points to a totally different future. Is the future of medicine not a doctor or an AI, but a doctor working hand in hand with their AI partner to give us the best care possible? Based on everything we've just seen, the answer looks like a resounding yes.